Alright, in this video I want to talk about the second week of the August Golden Gift Box event that they released this past week. I didn't get everything. There may be one or two items that I may decide to pick up before they eventually leave. They're just not quite what I normally use for some of my characters, but I'm going to start off with this is my Beast Warrior character. One of the items, the Dormius Blade, has a guest summons in it, which would fit on this character, but I don't do burns on this character, and that's what the weapon and then the guest that you call does. But it may be worth picking up in case I ever wanted to sort of alter things for that. But the weapon that I'm going to talk about here is the Lost Knight's Blade. This weapon here inflicts or eats panic, and it gives you a strength and an endurance boost. There's been a few items. There was an item that ate a status, I think maybe burns, that gives you strength and charisma. There was the Swordalest or whatever it's called that ate bleed that gave you strength and luck. And so we've seen a few of these. The Tenebrofage is the strength and intelligence, the hybrid weapon. So a lot of people like this idea as a whole, but this one eats panic. So what I'm going to do actually is try to do a couple of rounds of panic, and then I'll eat it. And then what you're going to be able to do is you'll see that it actually gives you a lot of hit points. It's not like boosting intelligence that ends up boosting your MP bar. This one actually, I guess there's no actual cap on what endurance can give you. So I'm just gonna do this real quick and see what happens. So we have a little bit of panic here. It'll cap at 117. I don't know if what I have is enough, but actually let's do this one more time, and then most likely that should be good. And then, so watch my hit point bar as I swap to this item, and then it pre-fires, so the boost you get to strength will actually count towards that turn. So as you can see, you have the boost there. So it was 110. Like I said, it'll cap at 117. So as you notice, there's no more panic here. So this works pretty well as a sort of pseudo healer, almost like an anti-fragile in that sense. It's just a temporary gain of hit points, where fragile is a temporary loss in hit points. So it's not really damage. This is not really a heal, but it is altering your hit points. Pretty good concept. If you have maybe a Beast Warrior, you're using Creature 72s, or you have other means to inflict panic, and then you're just able to give yourself a temporary boost to your hit points and your damage and accuracy and stuff with the strength. I have seen people that, like, maybe they already have 250 endurance, maybe they have an end drive shield, maybe they're using that Fenrir pet that has an end drive built in, maybe they're using a misc with endurance, and then they inflict panic, and then they eat the panic for the end boost, getting themselves over 9,000 hit points. And so I guess you could have that meme, the old school meme, the over 9,000 meme or whatnot. But basically, that's this weapon in a nutshell. This weapon's a rare, so to me it's probably worth pick up for any of your warrior characters. Probably not a lot of warriors inflicting panic right now. This weapon right here is actually getting ready to go away for week 3, so it's a surfboard. I don't remember if I did a video on that, but to me that was worth a pickup. And so before it leaves, those two weapons go good together. Let me see here really quick. I can't remember if it's a rare or an ultra rare. I think it was a rare though. No, it was actually an ultra rare. But as you can see, the Lost Knight blade that's right here is a rare. Let's go see here. So this guy right here is what I was using to inflict panic. Like I said, it's going to go away here shortly, so it's one of the options for inflicting panic. They also have the Olympex pulverizers that cost Z tokens if you would rather go that route. But we do now have a couple of decent melee options for panic now. This was the blade I was talking about. It's another melee weapon. It inflicts a pretty strong burn, and then you can do a guest call, and the guest also inflicts a burn. I've seen people show like 20 and 30 power burns real quick, so I think it's probably for people that like to play with burns, maybe worth it. And so that's it for it. Nothing too special, just using some ideas I've already done, but applying it to different stats. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to, let's move on to this guy here. This is my Dodge Lasher. I picked up the Misc Gem of Illumina or something like that. Illumia's Mystic Gem, that's it. And what it does, basically, it has you have two options. One is for mages, the other is for warriors. There is not a ranger one, because this will actually scale and inflict on either intelligence or strength, depending on what you're doing. And so I'm going to do real quick, I'm just going to cast a spell, but basically what this does is inflict blind. So it's 3 rounds up to, I think it's 27 at 100%. So basically you get a compressed spell there. It's okay. It's an ultra rare. I don't believe that it's really worth an ultra rare. Some may disagree, because I believe the item itself actually reduces damage by half to both light and darkness. So it's a ×5 misc to 2 elements, and it's also doing an Ellie shield to light and darkness here, 3 rounds, as you can see. So it's doing a bunch of stuff. And so yeah, 27 blind scales on light. And I use a lot of blinds and stuff on this character, but I actually have a light blind here. What that would probably enable me to do is I can use this to scale with light if I wanted to replace my spell here. But a lot of times what I actually do here is use certain weapons that inflict blind based on spell casts. So kind of wanted to show off maybe the difference in the couple options I have here. So I'm going to use the Radiant Spire of Transformation. You could also use the Seraph Calamity. They're both very similar. So I'm going to have this guy on blind mode, and then we'll go ahead and do this. So just to kind of give you an idea what this stack looks like. So basically 27 became 37. So now we're up to 65 just in 2 casts. So now we're at 92 in 3 casts. So it builds blinds pretty fast. So now let's go ahead and see what that looks like with using the Griffin spell. I think the Griffin spell is going to cost some hit points. So that's one of the things for some people that might be a deal breaker. Some people may not mind it. I think with the Dodge Lash Care, it's not a big deal. So instead, I'm going to use this with this blind here and see how fast this stacks. So this one is actually lower blind but more rounds. So it just depends on kind of how you feel about it. It's a little bit quicker. But, you know, when you use this misc, you can't use another misc. I typically like to run this tried and true Creature 72 with phase, so that way I can replenish resources while I'm stacking my blinds. I might do it right at the outset. I might wait a couple rounds, but typically, if I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and run Optico, which is going to help me with my potents. And then another option that I like to do with, I'll show this comparison. It's my third option, using light. Since they updated the ultraviolet light spell with the new updated dazzle status, which by the way, blind potence works with dazzle, so it's blind's cousin. And so what I'll do here is, what's neat about ultraviolet light too is I actually have the light and darkness variant of this weapon. So this does 1 hit of light and 1 hit of darkness, so as long as it lands, it'll trigger the effect from the weapon. And so, as you can see, one second, I guess I ran out of SP maybe the last round. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do dazzle. So the dazzle will be 22 per cast, and it doesn't get diluted like most statuses do. As you basically add more on there, it's just 22 each time. And it actually doesn't even matter if one or both hits land. Alright, so we're now blinding foes. So I'm going to do dazzle with this guy now. So we're going to get the 22, and then we're going to get the 18 from the weapon. So basically that's 40 blind in 1 cast. So that's the biggest stack in my opinion. So this one's going to go from 40 to let's see, we got 75.5 in 2 casts. And then we're up over 100. So ultraviolet light using this weapon is going to be a quicker blind stack than using the misc or this spell. Now, it is only 2 hits and it is dual element, so there's a caveat with it, a caveat. So I think that at the end of the day, it's just another tool in the tool belt. It's not worth an ultra rare in my opinion, but it may have eventually. It may have some pretty decent application. In that, maybe using it in partnership with something else may yield some good stacks. So I just picked it up, and it looks like the stacking with the permanent blind is still weird. Dropped it all the way down to 10. All right, that is it for the misc. So I want to move on to the next item, which is a spell. I think of the initial reaction for this spell was kind of like, holy shit, it does power word die. That's been redone, and it can be applied to Blade of Odd. That kind of shit, like, oh, this is great. But I think at the end of the day, the way they designed this is kind of weird. It's both, this spell's both good and bad. Skullcrusher Barrage. So versus monsters at level 150 or below. So basically it has 2 different effects. Either versus a boss that's level 150 or higher, or basically the level of the spell. It does fragile, and it does a rather large fragile. Versus everything else, there's a 4% special, and it is power word die. So if you're fighting against trash mobs, you don't need power word die, and that's why I call it a little bit weird. I honestly would rather it just be fragile all the time. But at the end of the day, this is what it's going to look like. And then if all hits connect, I think it has a negative lean on it, because it does tend to miss quite a bit. But you can get some pretty large amounts of fragile. I wonder if they altered it because it just did fragile on this monster. It shouldn't be doing fragile. I'm going to try that again. It should not be doing fragile against a level 130 mob. Endured the assault. Unless my eyes just didn't see what I thought I saw. Endured. I think the save on the... Yeah, endured. So it's attempting fragile. So I guess, yep, it just did fragile. I guess the item was just changed and I didn't see it. Let's try again. Didn't even attempt. Maybe this item's buggy. Huh. Very weird. I'm not even getting the verbiage this time. what I'm going to do real quick is actually just fight like a boss monster or something and kind of show it off a little bit. So I like to use a fragile strategy versus this guy with my backlasher. So 1 second, probably gonna lose initiative here. Let's go ahead and get this guy out. All right, let's see what we can manage here. Endure. So it's attempting here. That was weird. There's a couple monsters where it was attempting. So it does miss quite a bit. It also costs SP. It's basically overcharged. It is standard MP cost, and then you throw in basically throw in the extra SP. There it goes. It took it that time. 31.9 endurance with that versus 80% fire. But that's it for that item. Probably I think it's an ultra rare. Probably, in my opinion, probably just worth a rare. So that's a couple of ultra rares that are probably just worth rares. I feel like that's not too bad, but I do think that sort of the best items are going to be here. They fit very well on my main. So the first I'm going to be talking about is the Chaotic Lacerta Staff. So this item here, some people thought, because last week they released the Riadne's Venomous Staff, and it inflicted, for the magic version anyway, it inflicted poison based on darkness spells. And this thing does the same thing. And it's actually a smaller amount of poison than the item from last week. I think it has better art as well. So it only works with darkness spells. What I'm going to do here is, in order to trigger Void Forged, so you're going to need to do Snake Master Strike. So much like the Moonlit weapon series from the Chupacabra Rare Monster Hunt, where I'm using the water weapon with the water spell to get enough poison inflicted to fuel Void Forged. As you can see, it's here. So they're similar in that manner. Go ahead and do that. So I showed off. I think on my full offensive ranger, that you can trigger Void Forge pretty easily with the Chupacabra, and then with my Lucky Beast Mage, my main, it's the same thing. And so basically this spell works very well with it because of the hypercrit that is attached to it. But there is a difference with this item, and this is where this is what makes this item worth it. Keep in mind, this item is a rare, and so while we have had a couple of ultra rares that I think probably were better as a rare. This is actually good enough where it probably should have been an ultra rare. As you can see in the verbiage there, you can click it. So you have a 392 SP per turn to do a chromatic poison. And it works it works with any spell. And that's what's nice about it. Also, the power of it is it's per hit. And because it's chromatic, I think that the poison power is higher than the melee valuation is higher than normal poisons. So it actually does not require 4-hit spells to trigger. So what I'm going to do here is start off with Seeing Red. So we're going to have 1, 2, and then it missed. So let's see what happens with 2. So we have a 2.27 power chromatic poison for 4 rounds. So it wasn't quite enough. 2 hits is not enough. But I believe 3 hits is. Of course, there are many spells that let's see real quick. There's many spells that are 3 hits. So let's do 3-hit spell here. 1, 2, 3. So we've got a 6.81 for 4 rounds on a 3-hit spell. And as you can see, it's enough for Void Forged. So, and actually, it's still glowing, so there was enough left over for another round. So actually, a 3-hit spell will actually give you 2 rounds of Void. And again, the nice thing about it is the fact that it works with any spell that's landed. So in this case, I'm casting another poison spell. So what I like to do is, at this point, I do Celerity, and then I'll do Void. Oh, I forgot to do it here. What I'll do is I'll do Void, and then inflict it, and then re-eat the poison that I just inflicted. So the chromatic poison is going to give you several rounds of void damage. In fact, I believe that there's enough stuff in the game with the Moonlit Predator weapons, the Enderfang Impaler weapon, this weapon. There's enough poison stuff in the game to give you access to 1 round without celerity. Access to Void Forged. So like I said, if you're going to use an actual spell that inflicts poison, that's just more fuel for this. So just real quick, like I was going to say a second ago that I didn't show. So now we're at, get a couple rounds of celerity. So going to eat it, attack, eat it, attack. And as you can see, there's still some left over. We still have, let's see, a 9 power for 3 rounds. Chromatic. We're going to have 0.37 for 3 rounds darkness, and then of course the void. and then click it. Look, there's still some there. And then though it finally went away. I don't know if that's because the battle ended. But all in all, that particular weapon I find to be, for my playstyle, maybe the best of the best. And I think you could actually begin to cater an entire character around Voidforged, to be honest with you. And then I'm going to finally end this video with the Broodfiend of Nulgath. So this is what the armor looks like. It comes with a toggle, but basically what this does, it's a dual element armor, so you're going to have 40% to darkness and fire, and then what this does here, so it's multiple effects in one toggle. Some people may have preferred maybe there'd be different toggles to turn on and off the varying things, but basically you get plus 25% pet and guest damage, and then it makes your attack have a 4-hit attack. It's a full offensive armor. Some people don't like that because it's Beastmaster oriented, but I think that those folks are actually wrong with their assessment that it's weird, because I think the aim here, the design decision, is to try to make it both a little bit defensive and some offense too. And so I don't have an issue with it. Sovereign Reigns was a full offense with Beastmaster stuff in it, but it also, like I said, inflicts panic. Pet and guest damage is plus 25%, and it does a fire and darkness Ellie shield, I believe, at the end of the attack. And so this goes from a 2-hit attack to a 4-hit attack now. It does pay some damage, so the armor itself is going to actually have, I think it's like half damage or something for some of this stuff. And then it also has initiative, so it's a Beastmaster armor with initiative. So basically, initiative also works for pets and guests, so you get plus 50%, and then also with the toggle it's another plus 25%, so it's plus 75% damage for your pet and guest on that first round. And then, like I said, it's going to inflict panic. So that 0.79 with the negative 10 is the armors, I think. No, it's the 784. So negative 10 penalty. And then you can actually bring on like a panic weapon. So you're getting 2 panic inflictions in one to really drive that down. Actually, there's one more item that I need to bring up that I forgot about from the crossover. Do it here shortly. As you can see, you get an Ellie shield to fire darkness. It's a very small Ellie shield. It's almost, to me, it's almost kind of like well, we have some melee valuation left here, what can we do with it type of situation. I would have just said, fuck it, just increase the panic a little more or something like that. But I'm going to actually end with the final item. So if you remember, we did the Lore Olympian Torchfoot the other day. It's a panic eater for damage. They actually, by and large, copied it. This one's a little better. I think Fire has better Elevon stacking capability, but art-wise, it's worse. And the Lore Olympian Torch has 5 hits. This guy's actually only 3 hits. And this mode is also a negative BTH lean, which I don't really like personally. They should have just done a no lean on it, but it is all good. But it's just basically the same thing. It's a panic eater. So we're just going to eat panic here. You'll get to see the animation. It's nothing spectacular. I mean, I don't have I don't really have a lot of Elevons here, but I suppose I could get out my Warper Bat Swarm and then bring out Dark Invader, and then you're going to start to see kind of the damage kind of go up a little bit. So I'll just show the pet one more against one more monster. This guy has a little bit high blocking. Maybe I can get this Death Floss to work. Let's see. We'll go with this. So what's kind of nice here is the Devil Warpires. Both you get the Quick Cast Panic, and you get the Guest with the Fire and Energy dual Elevons, and the 2 Panic Eaters are Fire and Energy. Actually, I'm going to end it with this because I should get the armors plus 25%. Inflicts a panic here. Let's see what we get from the Storm Knight. 1,500, 10,000. Missed several hits there. Like I said, it's got a negative BTH lean, and this monster has high blocking. But that's it for the items that I personally picked up. Like I said, there might be 1 or 2 there that I may pick up later. Week 3 is coming up for the Golden Gift Box event, so we'll see what comes out of it before I decide. But that's it. Thanks.